Tired of screwing up, tired of going down, tired of myself, tired of this town.
Eminent Waste of Time, episode 17. I'm Doug.
And I'm Chad.
And Chad is once again playing hurt.
I don't know why I keep doing this. Doug's laughing at me. Every time we sit here and I do this, we're checking levels, I get up and I hit my knee on the end of the desk again. It was not near as bad this time, so we're good. We're moving on.
It's a talent. It's a skill.
Or I'm handicapped.
Well, you don't have a lot of room over there either.
You shoved me in the corner.
I've got the nice end of the desk. It's your house. You could have put me anywhere.
I know, but
that's a you problem.
It is. I'm too nice for my own good.
So I got to be honest. I'm really amazed that we are 17 episodes into this. I guess partly because people are actually listening to it and want more.
You're amazed people are listening. I'm not amazed I'm this stubborn at all.
That's true. You did promise me we were doing this whether I wanted to or not.
Yes, we're going. No one's listening. Don't care. Moving forward. And hopefully you all get video this time.
Yeah, we had his laptop try to commit suicide, long story short.
Yeah, I'm not going to give you all the boring IT details, but I lost everything on my laptop. And the guys at work who actually deal with our hardware said, "Oh, we can't get anything back for you, even from your backup copy that you have." And I was like, okay, I mean...
Well, that's convenient, because that's why you had backups.
Right. And I was like, well, that sucks, but I mean, I don't want you having my laptop anymore. I got things to do. Give it back. And so I got it back from them. Within 45 minutes, I had all my files back from 10 days prior to when it crashed.
Including the video, but we had already published without a video and thought, you guys really don't need to see our ugly mugs, so we just left well enough alone.
You all had already sucked up and dealt with the disappointment of not seeing us or the joy of not seeing us, and we left it at that. I'm sorry.
So maybe there'll be a video this time, assuming his computer doesn't inhale itself. But either way, you're going to get audio because that always seems to work regardless.
If my computer dies, I'm demanding a new one from work. That's it, because it was miserable.
It's still not as bad as, can't remember what episode it was, 6 or 7 or 10 or something, but the one we had to record a second time because whole thing blew up.
Yeah, that was, I'll recap that one because that was funny and it was my fault. It was stupid cold, and we were out in the pole barn in the shop working and doing that. We're like, well, let's record it from here because the pole barn in the shop was new to us at that time. So we had space heaters going. Well, my space heater tripped the little power strip that it was on with the board and everything else, and we got nothing.
And I thought maybe it'd be nothing from maybe 30 minutes in. No, we did a test and it must have tripped as soon as we go, oh, look, it's working.
Yeah.
And then it died.
We had nothing. My
phone called for you. We're leaving that in.
I'm going to get the phone
because it'll just keep ringing. So Robert Higbee is once again giving us fodder for the show, which I really appreciate. And he says, man, I cannot remember if we talked exhaust yet. Let's talk exhausts. What you like, why you like it, and when Chad gets back, he gets to describe what he would put on an X3 if he had one. So, exhausts, man, I don't know that I'm married to any one brand. A lot of what works on these is just the age-old, like straight through, a little bit of baffling in there. It doesn't have to be quiet because most people don't care. What's the one we're running on the CF Moto right now?
It's called a PR2 is what it is, and it was made in Thailand.
That thing sounds really, really good.
It does sound amazing, and it is a no-name brand. A guy who I used to talk to quite a bit got me that exhaust as a kind of test thing, and I love the way it sounds. It also woke the machine up quite a bit. But
I was going to say, in terms of smaller displacement, that's probably my favorite exhaust. I've heard a lot of different ones on Razors and some of the other small machines out there. This one sounds better than any of them. So
yep. I guess get comments on it all the time. Everyone says they love it. So
I guess that would be my preferred one for the 800cc-ish machine, but I don't know where to tell anybody to find them.
So here's my take on exhaust. Each machine kind of has a company or couple of companies that sound good on each of them.
It's like Ford and Flowmaster. They just
Yeah.
work together.
In my opinion, and this is my opinion, the sound of a Ford 5.0 Mustang, the older ones like the 92s is when they stopped making them, or maybe it's 94, something like that. The older 5.0 Mustangs and a Flowmaster 40 series, you will never beat that sound. Never beat that sound.
It is mesmerizing.
It just sounds good together. They just work well. Can you put other things on? They sound pretty good? Yep, sure. But each brand and each make and model of motor and all that, I guess specifically, normally match well to a manufacturer of exhaust.
Sure.
And there's just some that they just fit right.
Again, I don't mean to dump on Polaris, but Razors just always sound like Razors to me, no matter how the exhaust is set up on them.
Yeah, some sound super obnoxious, some don't. The race series owner, Andy Bridgewater, he has a Razor, and it's like straight piped, and somehow they've amplified the noise coming out the back end.
Yeah, I think basically what they did is they took the muffler apart, took everything out of it, and put it back on. So now it's just a big, hollow, resonating tube. It actually makes it worse.
It's
that thing
horribly loud.
It just shrieks. It hurts when you're by it.
Yeah, it's not. I've made the comment to Andy before. Andy, for Christmas, I'm going to buy you mufflers because none of his things have mufflers on them. His kids' quads that they race, you know it's them because it's like straight piped.
And so one of their sons is riding this 50cc two-stroke with no packing in the muffler, and again, it's painful. Everything he owns hurts when it goes by.
See, I've run straight pipe things before. I've had motorcycles that were straight piped and everything else. But if you get a big enough pipe on them, they don't sound bad.
Right.
They don't hurt. They thump and they rumble good. His, it's like, we'll take that 50cc quad two-stroke that they're running. It's like, I have an exhaust the size of a drinking straw. Let's cram that on there. And it's just like, you guys know that sound. It's like the Chevy trucks when guys straight pipe those and they put like an 1.5 inch pipe on them straight piped and they just snap and hurt.
I used to ride with a guy, he had a Harley and he had it straight piped, and I swear it looked like 3/4 inch conduit. They're these little tiny pipes. We made him ride in the back.
Yeah.
Nobody would ride behind him because it was just painful. Mm-hmm. So yeah, we always forced him to the back of the pack. So I guess if we have a favorite, it is large diameter pipes, because that definitely, it gives you a more mellow rumble as opposed to a shriek.
I tend to, if I have to pick a manufacturer of exhaust, now they don't make something for everything, but Yoshimura has always been tops and one of my favorites. I even built an exhaust. I went and got a street bike muffler and made an exhaust for my CF Moto, and it sounded great. And I still have it. I should probably give that away to someone.
You had a Yosh on your FZ1 as well,
yes,
that you
I
had
did.
actually cut down a little bit.
Yep.
And
I cut, I don't know, 4 inches or something like that out of the length of it, shortened it, because it was just a little too quiet, and I didn't make it loud.
Well, it also looked kind of funny. The way it stuck up in the back of the bike was part of it too, and it basically brought it back in line with the...
Yeah, they had designed the muffler slightly too long because it also the tip stuck past the rear tire, and it looked kind of
it looked goofy.
So when I shortened it, I made it aesthetically pleasing also to look right. It looked proportionate to the bike again.
Honestly, I'm a big fan of just ridiculous, stupid exhaust systems. Like,
have you seen those
tractor
ones?
flappers and, hater pipes that are sticking up, past the top of the roof line, and,
Have you seen the trend overseas? It's in the eastern nations like, China, Japan, and all that, Taiwan, where they have ridiculously large, comically large body kits, and then the exhaust will run out the back and be like tractor flaps, but it goes up like 8-10 feet sometimes.
I've seen some pictures.
Oh, yeah.
I think I mentioned this in one of the later rounds of this year. There's this guy had a Chevy truck, and he had his exhaust routed up through the bed behind the cab.
Yep.
But they were full diesel stacks.
Yeah.
And there was like 3 inches of window in between. He couldn't see out the back of that truck or anything. And it wasn't a diesel. That was the bbest part.
Yeah, it's just gas.
It was just a gasser.
Yeah.
So that doesn't help you much on the UTV front. But really, it's it's like we've been saying, you've got to find what makes sense for the specific motor, what sounds best, and even that's pretty subjective. So,
and since he called me out on the X3, what would I put on an X3? I haven't heard that many exhausts on an X3 yet. Not enough where I could make
all the ones I hear are
educated
whisper
decision.
quiet. I hear more turbo than exhaust.
Yeah, the turbo chops it up a lot, but I haven't heard enough of them to really pick an exhaust that I was like, that's really one I would like.
Well, and I got to admit, I normally am a fan of louder exhausts, but I like the fact that they're quiet. They just make all that power and they just kind of whisper along. I don't know if I'd really want to do anything.
You're getting old.
I am getting old. No, I love the CF Moto. I love the rumble because it is raucous.
Yeah, it thumps.
I mean, if we didn't have an intercom, we wouldn't be talking to each other.
Oh no, it's loud.
I have no problem with that.
No.
But for some reason, the X3, it's just the body lines. It's slung. You know,
It
it's
is.
basically looks like a sports car, and I love the fact that it just makes quiet power and goes.
It is stealth. It looks
It is
stealth.
Yeah. I think
mean-
the exhaust fits with that.
Yeah,
I don't know
it does.
how they got that thing that quiet and still works.
If it's that Indian dude who just called me again, no. It's going to voicemail. It's my son's orthodontist thing. I don't care. It's going to keep ringing.
This is going to be one of those podcasts.
I'm talking in the background on the answering machine.
Oh, heaven. So, yeah, but again, like you, I haven't really heard anything that makes any sense in terms of X3 exhaust. Like, I just haven't heard anything that I'm like, oh, that's awesome or that's terrible. Just nothing.
I don't think many people have bothered putting them on yet.
No.
I mean, I don't know why, because usually that's one of the first things people change.
Probably because they're broke.
Yeah, they're expensive machines. So we have beat this horse for a while now. So
And we haven't really said anything at all.
nope, not
We've lived up to the show title.
Yep.
Once again.
We've danced right around that subject. And
So one of the things I brought up and asked Chad to put on the docket here was Ford is coming out with, well, it's not really a new truck. It's a reissue of an old truck, and they're trying something new with one of their oldest trucks. So, okay, they're not UTVs, but you need something to haul your UTV with, and UTV guys like trucks. So we're going to
agree.
talk trucks for a little bit.
yep. So Ford is putting a diesel motor, a 3.0, in their F-150. Is one of the first things that we wanted to bring up. So I have to say, and I even asked Doug, I was underwhelmed by the numbers that they put out. I mean,
It's exactly when I had heard rumors that they were going to do this about a year ago, it's exactly what I thought it would be. Right around 3 liters. I was figuring 230 to 260 horse and, north of 400 pounds of torque. That's exactly what it is. 250 horse, 440 foot-pounds.
yep.
And the goal here is not max towing power. This is not designed to compete and be a mini F250 or 350. This is designed solely for fuel economy. That's the only reason they're doing this.
But the tow rating goes up so much on that truck. It goes up to like 11.4 or something ridiculous.
But if you want the max towing capacity, you still get the EcoBoost V6. It still
know.
beats it in the max tow configuration.
I
But
get why they've done it.
they're saying this thing, obviously not towing, but on the highway, they're talking about a 30 mile of the gallon truck.
I know.
And so what that does for them is 2 things. They can say they've got a truck that gets awesome fuel economy because right now Dodge is the only light truck.
that has a diesel.
Well, the Nissan HD is kind of in the middle. It's not really a half ton. It's got that 5-liter Cummins in it, but it's like a heavy duty half ton. It's not really in the same space as an F-150
Right.
or the Ram 1500. And it doesn't get the gas mileage because it's a bigger displacement. So I think they didn't want to leave Ram kind of unchecked in that segment. But the other thing is they've got the government breathing down their neck right now to increase CAFE averages. And if you can take a truck and say, okay, but this one gets 30 miles of the gallon, what's that do to your average of the other trucks on the other side that are only getting 15?
Yep. Oh, I get why they've done it. I don't know. So I
You're not buying one?
no, but I raised a question to Doug when we were chatting about it a few days ago. Said, well, I bet it will respond well to a tuner like many of the modern diesel trucks do. And I would suspect that you can get it up pretty easily to the 325 to 350 horsepower and, 600 foot-pound of torque, somewhere in that range. And that would be respectable. That'd be quite good, actually. But because my whole problem with it is I have the 5.0 truck. It's the same
Right.
motor that is in the newer ones and everything else. And it is, I think it's 375 horse or whatever it is, and like 350 foot-pounds of torque, whatever it is, somewhere right in there.
Yeah.
Whatever it comes out to be. So they're producing a diesel, which diesels are known to be towing vehicles with less. Now, I know it's got more torque, but the torque is good to get you off the line.
Yeah, but where does it make it? That's the other question. This thing probably makes peak torque. I haven't seen the specs on RPMs yet. They've just released raw numbers.
Right.
But I'm guessing it makes torque between 2,000 and 2,500.
Right.
Whereas that 5-liter is up at $5,000 by the time you're peaking out in the torque curve.
Yeah, it's up there.
It's a twister.
Yeah.
This thing is a lot lower, and that's the reason the EcoBoost toasts so much more than the 5-liter in the same configuration. With the turbochargers, it's making torque down at like 20, I think it peaks at 2,400 RPM. That's where it's making max torque.
Yeah.
So they've said this thing works on the Davis Dam, that really insane long uphill grade that they've kind of, they've standardized like an SAE towing test. 100-degree temperatures, all the way to the top of the Davis Dam Road with the air conditioning on. I mean, they've standardized so that everybody, because there used to be all these games, and Ford used to be really bad about this.
Yeah.
They would rate their trucks without radios in them, without bumpers on them, anything they could do to save weight.
Yeah.
They wouldn't consider a driver in the truck, which is kind of a fundamental thing. And then
You
for a
need
while,
that.
they were figuring the driver was only 150 pounds. I'm not a big guy. I weigh 170. I don't know where all these 150-pound guys that own trucks are, but I haven't seen them. So it's forced them to be honest. And they're saying this truck will do like 11,000 pounds in 100-degree heat with the air conditioning on up the Davis Dam Road. Now, it's not going to be fast, but it'll do it.
Right.
Because that's where the horsepower comes in. Most of you guys out there know this, but if somebody else is listening that doesn't, torque is what gets you off the line. Horsepower is how fast that happens, basically.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess I'm not saying it's a bad truck or it's going to be a bad truck. I'm just saying I was underwhelmed.
I'm just curious what the price is going to be, because obviously it's going to be more expensive than the 5.0.
Yep.
If it's going to be on par with the EcoBoost, that's a tough sell.
Yeah. Why wouldn't you just get the EcoBoost at that point?
The only reason would be if at max tow, again, let's say 11,000 pounds, you're going to get better fuel economy out of that. But diesel costs more, and you have to buy DEF. And if something goes wrong with any of the very complicated systems that make modern diesels work, they're really expensive to fix.
Exactly.
So it's a tough sell. I think really more than anything, they did this for cafe averages.
I'm not saying it won't sell. I'm just saying I was underwhelmed. So
Yeah. I think it will sell too. I just don't think it's going to be a big seller. People have been begging for a diesel for years, but I think these are people that were envisioning like having a mini F-250.
yeah,
You know?
this is not that.
No.
So on to the next one, because Doug wanted to look at two of them. Ford is bringing back the Ranger.
Yes, they are.
Now-
And it's body on frame.
It is. It is.
It is not. I was worried it was going to be some, unibody front wheel drive affair, but no, it is a body on frame. It is actually a truck.
It doesn't look bad.
I'm not sold on the looks. I'll be honest. It's okay.
It really reminds me of the Sport Track from, years gone by. It is a whole lot like that.
Yeah, I can see that. The nice thing is it's got a real motor in it now, which 2.3 liters wouldn't have constituted a real motor back in the day, but the 2.3 liter EcoBoost that they're going to stick in there makes about 280 horsepower.
Yeah.
And it makes torque down low because it is turbocharged.
Right.
And there's a variant of it in the Focus ST that's making 350 horse. So there's room for them to release, a hot version of this thing.
It's not going to be your big towing machine. What it is going to be is if you're doing some towing here and there and you need a pickup bed of some kind, and it's a short bed, especially if you get the crew cab version, it's like a really short bed, like the Sport Tracks.
4 foot, 4.5, something like that.
Yeah, whatever. I don't remember the exact length, but really, I mean, we all remember the Sport Tracks. I got one for my son for his first car, and the bed is, small and
it's cute.
Yeah, it's cute. It's comically
you
small.
can fit 3 bags of mulch in there.
Yeah. Really, that's what the crew cab version is. I didn't really look at the extended cab, and do they have a 6 foot and an 8 foot bed one? I don't know.
They may do a 6 foot. There's no way that thing has an 8 foot bed.
I don't think they're going to do an 8 foot either. But
I'm just picturing the proportions in my head. It looks hilarious.
well, that's how the old Rangers were. You remember those?
Oh, yeah.
With the 8 foot bed and the little cab.
And like 92 horsepower motor.
Yep.
Who wouldn't want that?
Yep. So I don't think it's going to be a bad truck. I am not overly a fan of the little truck market. I like Fords, but I don't like the Chevy ones. I've been up close. I'm sorry if you're a Chevy owner. I'm not saying all Chevys are bad, so Robert Higbee, don't yell. But the Colorados and Canyons, the Chevy and GMC variants of the mid-size, what they call the mid-size trucks, they're really small trucks. They don't make a small one. Man, the fit and finish on their body panels is bad. I've never seen... oranges have less orange peel than their paint does. It's just... They did not take time to really do them well.
Well, my issue really has more down to price. When you look at the price of what you can get into a Canyon for or a Colorado, depending on if you're going Chevy or GMC, really for a couple grand more, you can usually get into a full-size truck. And that's a tough sell for me to have them be small. But you know what's interesting is how much trucks have grown, because you're talking about those being a small truck. They're not a mid-size. The big Canyon, like the quad cab, dimensionally is almost the same size as a standard cab long bed CK 1500 from the 80s.
Yeah. They've gotten bigger. They definitely have. I mean, but still.
If you can't make them better, make them bigger.
Yeah.
I mean, they've gotten a lot better. Let's face it. You can tow a ton more, do a ton more. But every year they add an inch here and they add a pound there. And my Dodge Ram that I had, well, it wasn't a Dodge Ram, just a Ram, that 2500 I have, I miss it. I still talk about it like I have it. That thing weighed 7,100 pounds with nothing in it.
Yeah.
That wasn't a diesel.
Yeah.
I mean, just incredibly heavy, but they're so much beefier than they were. You jump underneath there and you see the frame rails and stuff, and you understand where it went.
Yep.
But the reason I want to bring these two trucks up is I'm unapologetically a Ford fan. I have always had good luck with their vehicles. I've always been happy with them. I've had some disasters with them, but that's any car. It doesn't matter. Everybody makes a lemon. Everybody makes a winner. But overall, I've been very impressed with the vehicles I've had. And for a long time, it seemed like they're really leading the market segment. They're pushing forward with the EcoBoost motors, but that's now, 7, 8 years old?
Yep, pretty much.
So not that it's old technology, but it's not new anymore. It's not people just expect that they're producing those. So they've been moving forward on a lot of these fronts, but this really felt like they were playing catch up.
Yeah, we talked about that some.
Ram's got a half-ton diesel and it's selling well because it gets good gas mileage. We should be doing that.
And then Chevy has the Canyon
in Colorado. And the Ranger wasn't selling well for us, but now all of a sudden those small trucks are selling well for Chevy and GMC, so we should have a small truck again.
Right.
And so I don't know, it feels like they're playing catch up on these. Maybe it's just me, but...
It does. I get what you're saying. No, time will tell. See how good they do.
The most exciting thing to me about the Ranger is not the Ranger. It's the fact that that's the platform they're going to build the new Bronco on.
I am excited to see what the Bronco actually becomes, because the prototype that they've released pictures of and shown at auto shows looks really neat. Now, I almost wonder if it's going to be exactly what the Toyota FJ Cruiser was that came out in around 2010.
Yeah.
Or even that the Jeeps are now. I'm sorry if you own any of those. This is just my opinion. The Jeeps are mall certified.
We're making friends all over tonight.
I'm sorry. I'm an opinionated person. Anyway.
I'm sorry you are too.
The Toyota FJs that came out, they look really neat because they look like the old ones, the old FJs.
They do, but
what made the old FJs really neat was they were simple. Anybody could work on them. They could go anywhere. They could do anything because they didn't have a ton of electronics and they didn't have all this junk all over them. The new ones, they're not that. They're electronics everywhere. They put all the creature comforts in them. And it makes them nice for most people, but they lost that charm of the old thing that they were. And I think the Jeeps are the same way, honestly, because... I know a person who has one of the newer Jeeps. I know several people, but she sent a Facebook picture to me, and her Jeep floorboards are flooded again because she has the quote unquote freedom top where it's like the tree tops.
Freedom to leak.
Yeah, and they all leak. And I'm sorry, Jeep, when you put a minivan motor in it, you lost it for me. I mean, no. That was poor decision. And the Jeeps were the same way. The old ones, when they got rid of the straight six, they lost it for me because that it was still a simple vehicle that anybody could work on. Parts were cheap. Now, the vehicles were expensive to get, but the parts were cheap. But they were a simple vehicle that, I mean, would go anywhere.
Yeah, absolutely.
And now they've gone with minivan motors, and they don't really do all that great off-road, honestly.
It's a reflection of where sales are, and let's face it, more people live in suburbia and in nice, cushy environments than out in rough and tumble areas anymore. And people like you and I that really like to put stuff through the paces we're around, but we're further and,
I'm a dying breed is what you're telling me.
I think we're being out-reproduced by yuppies is what it comes down to.
Could be.
So. You got to go where the money is, so I get that. But yeah, I agree. I find myself longing for many of the vehicles of the past and not super excited about a lot of the ones of the future. I mean, I do think the Bronco's going to be neat, but I think it's going to be expensive, and I don't think it's going to be particularly off-road capable. I could be wrong, but like you said, I think it's going to be more of a suburban cruiser. So
I have that feeling too. Because like the Toyota FJs, the new ones, they're ridiculously expensive. I wouldn't mind having one just because they look like the old ones.
By the time you put any options in them, you're north of 40. Real fast.
And used, they are insanely priced too. But
that's just Toyota.
Yeah.
I mean, they hold their value like nothing else.
So anyway, we've beat that horse too for a while now.
Stop saying that. You're making it sound like we're doing a bad show.
Beating horses.
Next time on well, we wouldn't really be having an Eminent Waste of Time episode if we didn't talk about something X3 related.
Oh, we're going there. I put it on the list, but not because of anything. It was just in
it said X3 and you clicked on the link.
True. So have you guys seen this?
Don't mess with me. I know what happened.
Can-Am has released, they aren't even calling it an X3. I don't remember what it's called. Doug's got the link. He'll click on it and he'll tell us more. But Can-Am has done basically an Army model.
It's the Strike-X BFS III Space Edition. That's what it says.
So when, so it's a military version. So when, Private First Class Dumpy orders a vehicle to roll around in, does he have to remember that name? Because if he does, he's not.
No, he's really not.
So what
I just had to laugh when I saw that, though.
Yeah. They took the X3, they basically put like a camo pattern on it, and they've done some other stuff. I mean, it's got mounts for guns, and it's...
Well, it's got, you can see here by the recessed headlights and stuff, it's got some sort
of... It's got a big front-end protection bumper.
Yeah, it's got some armor on it and some stuff like that, but it still has half doors and no windshield, so don't think you're going to go cruising around in Taliban country and not get shot to death in this thing.
Well, I think it really is going for the same market that the Polaris UTV when they did their Army version. It's going for that because it had no doors and it was open, and I mean it had bumpers and
it's
stuff
really
like
a
that.
recon vehicle.
That's what it is. It's a fast in and out. They had the Polaris one had fitment for stretchers and stuff like that.
I just like the fact that they have ARs like Velcroed to this thing wherever they can find an open spot.
There's a space on the roll cage. Velcro an ACAR.
Put one on there.
Yeah. They're neat. It's worth looking into. We'll see how they do. I mean, I think they're a rugged enough built machine that there will probably be some of them get out there and do some stuff, but...
I'm looking here. It's got a camera on the front and the big LCD display inside, so it probably has some sort of like...
thermal
forward-looking infrared type of thing, or it does look really neat. I mean, I'll give it that. It's obviously they're going to beef up a few other things, but honestly, where we're primarily operating right now as a military force, I could see a use for something like that.
Yep.
The problem is it going to be like most things military? Is that a $150,000 UTV now?
I'm sure it is. Yeah, because Can-Am isn't cutting prices like military contract. That means the price quadruples. I mean. That goes.
Well, they have to spend that money. Otherwise, they don't have it next year.
Yep.
So this is one I'm glad you put on here because I wanted to touch on it. It's going to sound, well, I'm not going to preface this with anything. I'm going to let you talk first. The Ricochet Off-Road half-inch skid plates. They're made out of UHMW, which is ultra-high molecular weight polyethylene.
Yes.
So think of it as super plastic. It is incredibly dense. It's incredibly hard. It's incredibly resilient.
Very slippery, too.
Very slippery. Now, we just got done doing a rant show about we prefer aluminum, and I'm curious what you think.
So I saw, and I'm not going to name the company. I did put the company in our show notes, but I will not name the company by name. They came out and they were advertising these. They were for razors. I'm sure they make them for other vehicles also, but they are half-inch thick skid plates out of the plastic that we were talking about. So I got really curious. I was like, half-inch is stupid thick. What does that weigh? So I started looking. So a full 4x8 sheet, which is approximately what it will take to make that skid plate for that, I put it in there as like 82 pounds, I believe is what I put.
Yeah.
So 82 pounds. Now, in comparison, a 1/8 inch sheet of aluminum is 50 pounds. Now, that is the same 4x8 dimensions. It will, I don't know exactly how much of it they use, but if you can make it in aluminum, you can make it in the plastic and whatever. So you are adding about 1/3 in weight, roughly.
Yes,
to have those. I do not see the reason. And I know we're only talking parts of inches here, but what I'm thinking also is, so everyone's lifting their vehicles and they're putting bigger tires under them because they need more ground clearance and everything else. So if you go from a 26-inch tire, which we'll say is your factory-sized tire, to a 27, you're actually only gaining a half-inch because the other half-inch is on top of the tire and it's not touching the ground. So your skid plate is a half-inch thick instead of an 1/8 inch thick. You're losing ground clearance bolting that on, and because it weighs more, your suspension sags more. Now, you can compensate for that with pressing your springs up, but still, I don't see the reason. I just don't get it.
Now, it's going to sound like I'm backpedaling because I agreed with you last time, but I'm not. And here's why. Because what we talked about last time was he was just using high-density polyethylene to make his skid plates, the guy who shall remain nameless, the racing legend himself.
Yes.
HDPE is slippery, but it is not particularly puncture resistant. And I mean, it's a good plastic, but it's not, I don't think it holds up to aluminum. This stuff's a different ball game, and it's starting to make its way into the UTV market. But if you look at like the some of the big off-road races out there, like Baja 1000, KOR, that kind of stuff, they're running almost exclusively skid plates made out of this stuff.
And I'll agree with that. It's good plastic, but the problem is the weight.
Yeah, but what? You're talking 30 pounds, and in exchange, you get extreme puncture resistance. You get to slide over rocks that a lot of times would either bend or, drag on aluminum, where, you get into sharp rocks and that kind of stuff. This stuff will slide over it. It will glide over it where aluminum will gouge and will dig. There's a lot of cases to be made for this stuff in the right application. And depending on how you run and where you run, that 30-pound trade-off may be well worth it.
I'll agree, but still going to fight and say no racer wants to add 30 pounds just to add 30 pounds.
No, but if it's superior protection, if it's going to get them what they want.
See, I don't think it's superior protection.
Then why are all these racers doing it? I mean, these are big-time race crews that have a lot of money in these rigs.
I will agree it does slide better, but you're not getting better protection because I've never seen anything go through 1/8 inch aluminum. Just never have.
Well, they're saying you do because this stuff will tend to deform and bounce back, whereas you may have a dent or a puncture in aluminum. They're saying that it actually, and I'm not going to go into laboratory testing here, but they're saying that certain types of jagged, rock hits, this stuff is better.
Maybe in certain ones, but how many people are running that?
Well, yeah, and I guess there's kind of the rub. It's pretty expensive, and we've touched on this before, and no offense to any of you listening, because we're somewhat in this category too. You're not really pushing the machine to that kind of ragged edge. Even the riding we do is not like Baja 1000 style racing, that kind of endurance.
No.
And we push our stuff pretty hard, but a lot of people don't push their UTVs at all. And so do you need the weight? Do you need the expense? Do you need all that? And the answer is probably no. But if you are looking for the utmost in protection, this new stuff, again, it's not brand new in the market, but it's really kind of it's more new to the UTV market than anywhere else. It's been in some, custom applications prior to this. It's hard to beat it.
Yeah. I'm not saying it's bad stuff. I'm just saying you're giving up something, in my opinion, for what most people use it for. My opinions.
Yes.
So.
Well, and there you go. Worth everything you paid for it.
Free.
So one of the things we had on the docket here that it's been on here forever, so I want to talk about it finally.
Okay.
Trips for next year. Well, I guess this year now.
Yeah, it's this year. When I put it on there, it's for next year.
It was like 4 months ago that we put it on there.
Because Doug is avoiding my topics.
Because I didn't want to go anywhere. No, that's not true. We had 1,000 things, and I was moving down here a couple months ago when I was still trying to find a house. Going on trips was really not on the docket.
Yep. So let's see. Things we've planned. We'll review the things that we know we're going to do. We have talked about going to Michigan. Harrison Power Sports up there in Harrison, Michigan has invited us up there.
Can we talk about why?
We can. I'm okay with talking about it.
Is it legal? Is it been cleared?
Cleared by who? It's we'll go kind of into it. Anyway, we're looking at buying a machine from them. It may or may not be a
I wasn't worried about your wife. I was worried about him and his.
Oh no, he's okay.
Okay,
we're just not talking about details on it. So, but I'm looking at maybe possibly getting the new Textron
Arctic Cat
thing, double X.
Yes,
or XX or whatever they're going to call it. I don't really know.
130 very choice horsepower.
Yeah. So that's kind of appealing to me because I have always liked the Yamaha motor because that's what it's got in it. The Yamaha YXZ motor. It's the same motor.
But paired with the CVT.
But it has a CVT, which I do like. Not that I can't drive a stick because I'm actually quite good at driving a stick. I just don't want to, and it allows my kids to be able to drive it around the property without having to fight that.
Sure.
I really like the suspension setup that they have on it.
The thing looks good too.
It looks really good. It comes with full doors.
Yeah.
Anybody who's bought doors knows that that's like a $700-800 thing to get doors and have them and put them on there.
Absolutely.
I mean, so that makes it okay. You're getting that with the price of it.
Comes with a winch too, doesn't it?
I'm not positive on that. I haven't seen enough release notes.
I know there's several goodies that it's coming with, though. It's pretty well equipped.
Yeah, it really is well equipped. So I'm debating it. I'm not saying that is what I'm getting, but we are definitely looking at that one as a strong possibility.
So he's invited us up once he takes delivery to basically do a ride and kind of feel this thing out. And, you're going to have a pretty early first run report from us on what we think of it.
It sounds like that's what we're going to get. He has already placed orders for multiples of them, and one of them will be a demo machine. So he's offered us to go out and trail ride with them for the weekend up there in the Michigan trails, which will be a new experience for me. I've been to Michigan to ride, but never in their trail system, which I've heard is really nice.
What is it with you tonight?
I am a busy person.
Why are you so popular all of a sudden?
I'm sure it's my daughter.
So I hear there's like 3 or 4 nice days in Michigan. We could probably get up there sometime in June.
Yeah, well, it's going to be earlier in the year than that. So suck it up, Buttercup. We're going to get some bad weather.
I'm okay with that. One of the other things we've had offered to us is the Southern Mud Riders. They're based down in Baton Rouge, have invited us to come down and see what they are up to. Actually, this kind of started out as we would like to be on the podcast thing.
Yep.
And really what we kind of came up with is we would rather go see them than have them just do a Skype call or something like that. The best way to see what somebody's doing is to go down there and be a part of it.
Yep.
And so one of the things they're doing, they did this, they've done it, I think Shane said, for 5 years now. They do a big ride for St. Jude's Hospital, Research Hospital. And last year they made, I want to say, just north of $41,000 that they were able to bring in for St. Jude. So it's for a really good cause. It's a huge bash. It takes place in October, so it's later this year, obviously, but man, it really sounds like a good time. Sounds like they pull a lot of people from a lot of different areas. It's all for a good cause. And we'd like to be able to bring you the flavor of what's actually happening down there through the podcast and through video that we'll put on Facebook and that, or on YouTube and that kind of stuff, as opposed to just having them call in.
Yeah.
And we're trying to plan a few more trips like that where maybe we do destinations to kind of work with other riding groups and just, if you're in Alaska, here's what they're doing in, way down Louisiana. If you're out on the East Coast, here's what they're doing out in Arizona. Just give people a different sense of what UTV clubs are like and what riding's like in different parts of the country.
Yep.
Plus, we get to go do it, which that sounds a lot better than sitting here on a Skype call.
Now, last time I talked to them down there, Shane had offered me, he said, we got extra seats, so even if we don't want to drag a machine down there, they'll let us ride along. I wouldn't build one for myself because I'm not a mud guy. I've gone over this before, but I would really like to ride in one of those big lifted, machines with 35s under them or whatever they've got. I know they're not fast and everything else. I mean, they're not.
They'd still be a hoot, though.
I think it'd just be fun to ride around in it with them.
The only thing better than owning a mud buggy is knowing someone who owns a mud buggy.
Right. And I'll just ride with you. It's fine.
It's like a boat.
Yes.
Nobody wants to own a boat, but they just want to know somebody who owns a boat.
Yeah. True.
It's way cheaper that way.
It is cheaper. So,
we're definitely, we're just starting to put together plans, but we definitely want to do that. So we're going to make every effort to make that happen.
The TGM ride, they're having that, I believe, in September is what I saw.
Where are we going?
I think they're going back to Ride Royal Blue.
Since we got blanked on that last time, that would be awesome.
Yes, I would love to go to that. We got in the whole race season, we got just caught up in all of it, and we had committed to running the full season last year, and it was like, it would have been race weekend, Ride Royal Blue, and then like GNCC or whatever it was.
It was insane, and there was no way.
I was like, there's no way. My wife would have killed me. So
at that point, we were still having trouble keeping the stupid machine together. So
yeah,
there's that too.
So we had to pass on the TGM ride, but no, I'd like to go hit the TGM ride with them.
Those three things alone are probably going to be enough because we're going to have a lot of other stuff going on this summer. One thing, well, I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag yet because we're still in some discussions about it. But if this all comes to fruition, you're going to get more content from us on the YouTube side, and it's not going to be the podcast.
Yes.
We've got some other ventures that we're trying to get into that's going to bring you some really awesome, actually UTV-related content, unlike this garbage.
Not just us babbling.
But we're looking for some partners to work with on that, and I don't want to let the cat out of the bag yet. But if that happens, that's going to be a pretty good time commitment.
Yeah, that'll take up a fair amount of time. So, but it'll be good. I think everyone will enjoy it a ton. I'll enjoy it.
I think it's going to give the UTV community, much like this podcast, something that isn't really there yet in the form we're going to be doing it.
Yep, I agree. So that'll be neat.
And so all this to say, not just look at us and what we're doing, but we want to know what you're doing. So by all means, leave us some comments either on Facebook or leave them on the YouTube video or send us an email or however you want to get a hold of us. What are you guys doing this year? Where are you going riding? What kind of things are you up to? Because that helps us plan for the future. And it gives us stuff to talk about on the show. And, maybe if you have a group and you want to be on the podcast at some point, we can arrange that as well. But we don't want this to be just a look at us and what we're doing. We want to know what you're up to. So please give us some feedback about your big plans for the year.
Yeah, and I'd really like to go and see different areas and how they ride and how they spend their time in the UTVs and everything else.
We really want to go out west. Hint, hint, wink, wink.
Yeah, we need peoples out there.
We don't know anybody out there. So be that person and get a hold of us.
Well, I mean, it's like I was talking about a minute ago. I'm not a mud guy, but the guys down south seem to all be mud guys, like in Louisiana and Mississippi and all that.
A lot of the guys out west are rock guys.
Yeah.
So that's what they have.
That's something I don't experience here. So I would like to go experience that with you guys. The rocks and the mud and the sand. I mean, we've been to Silver Lake, but it's 500 acres. It's really nothing.
Big sand. We want big sand.
Yeah. I want to see what you guys are doing. Show me how you do it. Show me how to do it right. Because I'm not pretending to be a mud guy and that I know how to build a mud machine and everything else. I want to look at your machine. You tell me what you've done that's doing it right. And, just so we can tell other people too.
We need to know how you're wasting your time.
Yes. And your monies.
So those are some of our plans, and definitely get back to us with yours. We're really excited about 2018 and everything we've got cooking, and we really can't even tell you about half of it right now because maybe some of it won't come to fruition.
Yeah,
but
there's always a ton going on.
I keep coming up with ideas that are going to bankrupt us either time-wise, money-wise, or possibly both. So I did want to touch on this.
Hashtag don't tell Chad's wife.
Okay, this is really not UTV related, but you put it on here and I was super curious. I'd seen this and I just wanted to see what you think. It's the Honda self-balancing motorcycle.
Oh, gosh. Okay. I actually kind of hope we would get to this because I have an ulterior motive for putting that on there, kind of.
I kind of figured you did.
So I'm sneaky like that.
I'm scared I know you that well.
Yeah. So Honda has come out, and it's just prototype stage right now is all it is. There's no production, anything. But it's a self-balancing motorcycle. And it's neat. The technology is neat. So what it does is when you get to a slower speed, they didn't say what that speed was, the forks actually rake forward and disconnect from the handlebars. Mm-hmm. And it pivots the front wheel to keep itself balanced.
Yeah, it's not like a big gyroscope motor that won't just let you fall over. It literally just manipulates the front wheel to balance. It's really cool.
Right. So, and that's neat technology and all that. I think for me personally, being a motorcycle rider, I want nothing to do with it.
I'm with you. They're marketing this as, well, really what it is a look at me, I'm Honda, and we make cool stuff, and they do, and
I agree
they
with
need
that.
showcases.
And that's why I think it's neat.
But they're trying to actually market this as we're going to produce this for inexperienced riders to learn more. And all I can think is, if you can't balance on a bike, I don't want you anywhere on the road.
Right. So there's that. And to top it off, you know how expensive this technology is going to be? Because now you're talking about forks that disconnect from handlebars and move and everything else. You think a beginner, most of them, they're looking for like the dirt cheapest bike you can possibly get.
That's why the Ninja 250 exists.
Yeah. And you think they're going to pay for you think they're going to pay for that technology to be in there to have their first bike to see if they actually enjoy the riding experience?
No, I don't. And I think the market for people who are unsure about their balance has been eaten up by crossbows and Can-Am,
the
spiders, and that kind of stuff. I feel that's kind of eaten that market of people who are not super two-wheel friendly, but still want the experience of kind of being on two wheels, or at least the open cockpit feel. So, yeah, I'm with you. A new rider's not going to dish out the cash for this, and I'm always a Murphy's Law kind of person. I don't want, under any circumstances, my handlebars to not be connected to the forks. I just don't.
Okay, I'm glad you said that because I think we have gotten as much of the meat out of the initial topic as we can get, and now I'm going on to my ulterior motive for putting this on there.
Okay.
And it has to do with exactly that. So technology and everything, now motorcycles and UTVs and cars have gotten to this point where self-driving cars exist, and these motorcycles that balance themselves exist. And while the technology on the surface is very neat, and several guys at work and I have had this discussion, because like I said, I'm in technology, so we have these discussions because they affect us more. So what happens when the handlebars disconnect from the forks and you're no longer in control? Or what happens, what's the effect of all this when the self-driving car hits a small child who's run out into the road? Or
Well, I'm actually kind of glad, not the small child getting hit thing.
I'm
but
glad the kid gets hit by the car.
I'm glad you brought that up. No, actually, I'm not so sure that the Honda will be legal in some states.
I agree.
Because there are certain states that if you are driving a stick and you have it in neutral with the clutch out, you're not technically in control of the car. It's illegal. Now, the chances of a cop pulling you over, pretty darn slim.
Right.
But I'm wondering if in certain states that you are no longer in control of that motorcycle. I don't even know that it's actually going to be legal in certain states. I'm waiting to see if this thing actually comes to production, if there are legal challenges. But I'm with you. What happens when the computer has a bad day? Because I can tell you the sync in my Ford,
questionable at times.
Not kitchen sync, but the sync system that links my phone.
Yeah.
It has bad days.
Right.
I've actually had cars. I'm going to sound like I'm bashing Ford here, and you know I like them. My wife had a Taurus X.
Yep.
2008, first year. They had some computer transmission problems with it, and there would be times where you would drive that thing, and all of a sudden it would just flare up like it came out of gear. You could come to a complete stop, and it wouldn't move at all.
Yeah.
And you'd actually have to shut the car off and turn it back on, and the powertrain computer would reboot, and you'd go on your merry way, and it'd be fine. And she had another instance where she took a corner, and it was related to the powertrain again, but it was the all-wheel drive freaked out.
Yep.
And it was like driving a locked-up four-wheel drive truck. It didn't want to turn. It was fighting her, and it was bucking, and so she stopped, put it in park, rebooted the car, and it was fine again. Now, supposedly they had patches that fixed all that stuff if you took it in. Unfortunately, the car met an unfortunate demise with a deer before I had a chance to. But yeah, what happens when some of this technology that really takes all of the control out of your hands has a bad day?
So I was talking, like I said, to some guys at work, and I raised the question to them, and I'll raise it to you in this way. So say a child comes out into the road and the car is physically going too fast for it to stop. I mean, there are laws.
It happens, yeah.
Laws of physics. There's not enough grip in the road. It cannot stop.
It does everything it can, but
right,
it
but it cannot. So you or I, as humans, I can look at the other lane and say, there's no oncoming traffic, and my mind and your mind were quick enough, I can take the other lane and avoid the child. The car will not. Your mind and my mind can say, I don't want to kill the child if there's another car coming in the other lane. I can take the ditch. What happens when, let's take the Tesla, because it's really the only true self-driving car. What happens when the Tesla decides to either A, hit the child, B, take the ditch? Around here, the ditch is a 2-foot deep little thing, and it's going to total it, but what happens when the ditch is a 500-foot cliff out west? And now it's killed you.
I don't know the answer to that question specifically. I know what the answer in the future is going to be.
Okay.
All the cars are not only going to be self-driving, they'll be networked. So the car right now is not going to, like you said, I think it actually would take the other lane versus hitting the kid. The problem is if there's another car in the other lane, you're still going to get an accident, and maybe more people die, maybe less people do. It's tough to say. But in the future, the argument is you'll be networked to the cars within some radius. The other car will know that your car is making a maneuver, and it will slow and get out of the way as well. Like it will be a coordinated traffic pattern. But the problem is the phase in. How long does it take for all these cars to be smart enough to work together as a group?
Oh, yeah.
And what happens to the one, what we call them pedal pushers?
Yeah.
In the future, I don't know. What happens to the one person still driving normally that isn't playing by those rules?
So my question raised to these people is,
and where's the liability?
Right.
Because if I hit the kid and I'm behind the wheel, I'm liable.
Right.
You can say, well, there's no way I could stop. There's nothing I could do. And they would say, well, you were driving too fast for conditions or whatever. There's some liability there. If I have no control over the car, who's liable now?
Is it
Honda?
Tesla? Yeah, Tesla. The car manufacturer, is it their fault? What if what if there's a solid line of oncoming traffic in the other one and it has to swerve to avoid killing a human, and that's what it's going to do, and it takes the ditch or it does whatever. Now Tesla or the car manufacturer is responsible for your death, and you had no input into it at that time.
Yeah.
These become real questions. I mean, this sounds like science fiction movie things.
But it's not. In 2019, GM is going to release a completely autonomous car. It will have no pedals and it will have no steering wheel.
And
now you won't be able to buy it like as you and me, but it will be sold in fleets to taxi companies. It'll basically be like an interurban.
It's Johnny Cab from Total Recall.
It is Johnny Cab from Total Recall. What happens when you make it mad and it tries to kill you?
Yeah. Can you stab Johnny Cab in the neck like he did, like Arnold did, I think,
or rip him out of
it?
Yeah, completely rip him out. And then he actually did try and kill him.
Yeah.
So no, this is coming. It's coming next year. It's going to be a limited basis, but it's happening. And I think these are very interesting questions. I personally, I hate to be like the faith and technology person, but I do think that it's going to happen one way or the other. And I think more often than not, it'll actually be better, because I see accidents all the time that were easily avoidable because people are stupid.
I agree.
The cars and the computers will have less bad days. So maybe that's what this boils down to is overall traffic fatalities have been reduced by 80%. So you're just going to have to suck it up on the other 20% that we can't do anything about. And maybe that ultimately becomes the answer of it's still better than what we had.
Well, and I agree with that.
But I don't like the "it could kill me" thing. That's the thing.
And that's
if I kill me,
issue.
that's different.
Right. If I kill me, that's because I made a poor decision or whatever. Or, sometimes just bad things happen and there's no avoiding it. But if it kills me because it goes nut, Spectre and Meltdown, the two big things that have hit the IT world, these big viruses.
Could you imagine a Spectre-like virus taking control of cars?
Yeah, now it's taking control of cars, and it's like Maximum Overdrive, that movie from the 80s.
Oh, yeah.
When the vehicles and everything, electronic is killing everyone. So,
man, this got really deep.
It did. Look at us. I see you didn't know I was going this far.
I really didn't. I kind of wish I wouldn't have done it now.
Look at me go. But these are my real questions, and there are zero answers for them right now. You say you're a fan of technology, and I work in technology, and I am the complete opposite. I will fight that tooth and nail if I have to buy an old car to not be tied into that, because I do not want to give something else the chance to kill me that I have zero control over.
You got married.
Well, yeah, but I can fight her off.
Okay. Just saying, when you wake up with that pillow over your face.
I've been hit by heavy objects before. I was built to take a beating.
No, that's a very interesting point, and I don't know for sure what the answer to that's going to be. So
There isn't a good one right now. That's the problem.
No, there's not. Like I said, I still want manual controls. I want to do some driving, but I do like the prospect of, I've got an 8-hour drive. We're on the highway. Just get it done.
Yeah.
I'll be doing something else.
Do it, Jeeves.
Exactly.
So,
okay, we've got to get to stupid stuff with Chad. We're already 57 some odd minutes in.
And we still have trivia for you. So
I don't know if we have time for that mess.
We will do it.
Okay.
Because the stupid
let's get your story
Chad.
first. It's quick, but it's awesome.
So, yeah, the guys at work laughed. Everyone laughed. It's funny. Ha, ha, ha. I find it humorous myself. So, if you're friends with me on Facebook, you've already seen this story because I posted it on there, because this is the things that happen to me and around my house. So
he says happen. He was the direct cause.
I did it. It's what happens to me. I mean, not like, oh, it happened upon me. It happens in my life. I am the cause sometimes. But anyway, once again, built tough. So tough, not smart. So I was, what was it, this weekend? I was getting in the fridge and I was going to get, oh, look, there's some juice in there. And I get the juice thing out. And I pour myself a glass. And I'm like, yep, tasty juice. So they were the little glasses, like the breakfast juice ones, It's not a real big glass. So I'm like, okay, I'll pour another one. And I put the juice up in the fridge and I start walking around. I was doing other stuff. And my wife yells at me. Oh, no, I didn't put it in the fridge. That's why she yelled at me in the first place. But she yells at me. She goes, "Who has been drinking this juice?" And I said, "Me, why?" And I thought, like, maybe she does this. It was being saved for some occasion, or, she had plans for said juice or whatever. And she says, "It's supposed to be red and it's brown." And I was like, tastes fine to me, whatever. And I'm like, not caring about what color it is, doesn't matter. It tastes like juice. I'm good.
And when did it expire?
She yelled at me. It expired in 2015. We're in 2018 right now. My response, it's still fine. No problem. So she goes, I'm throwing this away. I'm like, well, whatever. So, because it was mostly gone anyway at that point. So then I make it back into the kitchen and I say, where's my juice I just poured? She goes, I dumped that out too. You can't drink that. I'm like, I was fine. I wanted to finish it. She wouldn't even let me finish my juice. It was 3 years expired.
You're so put upon.
I know.
She's trying to keep you from dying and all.
I wanted my juice. So these are the things that happened to me.
Why did I move down here?
Honestly, my my mother-in-law is 10 times worse than my wife. You cannot trust anything food-wise in their house. My son found something in her cupboard that was older than he was. The expiration was before his birthday.
Ooh, neat.
I don't remember what he said it was, but he was like, it was older than me. I was like, yeah. And he's 16.
Well, they own a restaurant, so they never cook. They just bring stuff home.
Yeah.
So, but that's kind of extreme.
Yeah, you just can't trust anything in their fridge, in their cupboards. It's not good. So
you have trivia.
I have trivia.
How
for
bad
you.
is it?
Well, I don't know.
You keep alternating between reasonable and insane. I'm not good with people's bodily functions and how many times they do them. We've established that.
I don't think any of them were bodily functions.
Laughing, they're all bodily functions.
Opening the fridge, that's not really a bodily function. I'm thinking pooping.
Well, I know what you're thinking. Child.
Yes, I'm a giant child. Okay. Trivia with Doug. Are you ready for your 10 questions?
I am ready.
Next to the U.S. Army, who is the largest buyer and importer of explosives in the U.S.?
Largest buyer?
Buyer and importer. Yep.
Something to do with highways, like the United States Highway Association. I don't know.
Nope. Disney World.
Really?
Yep.
I was just figuring like blasting roads and stuff.
They set off fireworks like every day, 365 days a year. That's explosives.
That?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they count those. I mean, it explodes, right?
Yeah, I guess so. I feel cheated.
I'm sorry. Okay.
But yeah, they do. The Magic Kingdom is like every night.
Yeah. So Fanta, the orange soda you drink thing?
Yeah.
Okay. Was originally created for what purpose?
To degrease engines.
No. It was a Coca-Cola substitute in the 1940s in Nazi Germany.
Really?
Because the U.S. and Germany were fighting and everything else. So
they figured like orange flavored.
No Coke. No Coke. They're not bringing it in.
Well, no. Yeah.
So they made Fanta. We're making our own something.
I have a totally different picture of that drink now.
Yeah.
Fascist Fanta.
So, yep. So that's what it was. What % of the world's food is wasted?
I'm betting it's big. Probably 40.
Exactly right. Very good. 40%.
Boom.
And actually, most of that is wasted before it even gets to store shelves.
Oh, just like lost during shipment and
Shipment
rotted,
damage,
that kind of stuff.
yeah, long shipping times and everything else. I've heard stories of importers like into China or exporters. They would have a problem with the business person who is importing or exporting. They just let it sit on the dock and rot in import inspections and stuff. So.
And I mean, I don't mean to sound like a tree hugger here, but I am a really big fan of the like more local economy and less buying stuff from, everywhere else except from locally. I mean, there's a ton of farmers around. Go to a farmer's market.
Yep.
Like all the veggies, all the stuff you need, you don't need to get them from California if you live in Tennessee.
And they usually taste better.
And they usually taste way better.
Okay. Number 4. Which direction does the moon rotate around the Earth? I'll make it easier for you. East to west or west to east. So you got a 50-50 shot at this.
West to east.
It does rotate west to east. That is correct.
I actually knew that one because my buddy Adam, who is a major space freak, would be really mad at me if I didn't.
Yep, I thought about him when I did this. So there's a little excerpt here. The moon, people are messaging me, go away. If that was you, I'm sorry. The moon orbits us from the west to the east, but we see it move across the sky from the east to the west because of the rate of the Earth's rotation. Our observation is like being in a faster car watching a slower car heading in the same direction fall further and further behind us. So that was to explain to the viewers. So very good. What day of the week are you most likely to have a heart attack on?
I'm going to say Sunday.
Monday. Stress of going back to work, they say.
Oh, no, that actually makes sense. I heard a really interesting stat the other day that daylight savings time, the hour shift is enough that when we go into daylight savings time and you lose an hour of sleep in the spring, right? You gain it back in the fall.
Yes.
Yeah, because you spring ahead.
Yeah.
They see a 22% rise in heart attacks on that specific day.
I wouldn't.
And they see a
doubt it.
20% drop in the fall because people actually get more sleep. They said literally people who are already, obviously these are people that have high risk factors anyways, but just losing that hour of sleep throws them off. So Sunday, people typically sleep in. Monday, you're back on your early schedule. That makes sense.
Yep. And,
So I'm calling in Monday.
Then
I don't want to die.
Tuesday.
This job ain't worth it.
Nope. Okay. What was originally marketed as a cure for morphine addiction?
More morphine.
No.
Heroin.
Yes.
I actually knew that one too.
Did you?
But the first one's more fun.
Yeah. I tried to give you some, but no. Heroin was originally marketed as a cure for morphine addiction.
Yep.
Makes sense.
You just a little pinch to keep you right, man.
Go drugs. Approximately how many coffee beans are required for one shot of espresso? You're not a coffee drinker, but many people are. So
113.
50.
Okay.
Not near as many.
That's still a lot.
That-
Isn't like real espresso like little like 2 ounce?
Yeah, it's pretty small.
There's not much there.
Yeah. So, okay. How many cowhides are needed to provide enough leather for one NFL season of football?
Wow. Is this a trick question? Is it actually 0 because they're all pleather now? Or
No,
something?
that's a real number.
Okay. How many cows? Football 72.
3,000.
Wow, I was low.
Yes, you were. Now,
Of course, they use a football for like 2 plays and then they have to get a new one.
yes.
Did they have a similar baseball stat? Because think about how many baseballs they go through in a game.
I've
a
seen
lot.
the stat before, but it's a lot. A lot of baseball.
162
Games a year, and then
they go through. There's games they go through 70, 80 baseballs.
yeah. I don't know. I don't have the baseball one. Maybe I'll get that for next time.
There we go. I'll look that one up.
But no, a lot of them. While we're on the baseball thing, you know that they rub mud on all the baseballs, and they only like a couple people in the world know where one guy goes to get the mud that they rub on these baseballs, and they will let no other mud on these baseballs. But they do it to take some of the shine off the leather.
Yeah, they rough them up.
Yeah, but it's special mud.
Pitchers would get in trouble for cutting the balls because they'd actually like cut grooves in them and stuff.
Yeah. So, let's see. At any given time in the U.S., how many people are registered as "quote unquote" missing people?
Population in the U.S. is like 350 million. I'll go 1.5 million.
100,000.
I'm just shooting numbers out. I had no idea. That actually seems really low.
Well, but how many people are missing, but they aren't registered as missing people?
Yeah.
100.
I don't know. 100,000 just seems low.
Like if I went missing, would you really miss me? Would my wife report it?
I was gonna say I wouldn't even report it.
Yeah. He'll come back when he's hungry. Maybe.
I'd just keep cashing in checks for you or something like that.
I get checks.
Okay. Well, in theory, if you did, like those people that say their parents are alive and they're taking their Social Security.
Yeah. I'm horrible about. My wife does most of the banking stuff in our house. I'm horrible about. Like, I went for a while when I was self-employed, I pay myself. It's been 3 months. My wife is yelling at me. I need to pay myself.
Oops.
I worked at my previous job. I was like, I suppose they're paying me. I don't know. I mean,
money, maybe.
Yeah. I got to work. I just know I'm supposed to go to work. That's it. Okay, last one.
Right.
You know the lady who sings Shakira? Have you ever heard of her?
Yeah.
Okay. Pretty popular, more so in like Brazil, I believe is where she's from. But has had hits here in the U.S. Shakira was rejected from her high school choir for what reason?
Shook her butt too much.
They thought she sounded like a goat.
I thought maybe it was like, I don't know, she can like not dance when she was singing, because that's one of her other big things is she moves a lot.
Yeah, she does sound rather goat-esque, though. I mean...
I guess I can kind of see that. I'd never really thought of it that way, but...
Yeah.
It's like, and I don't know if this is true, but supposedly Jessica Simpson was kind of shooed out of the Christian gospel singing world because they thought she was too good looking. Like she would be a distraction.
Really?
We need only moderately attractive people in the Christian music industry.
Could be.
And then so she's like, fine, I'll go sing elsewhere. Now, I don't know if that's true, but I've heard it repeated multiple times and it's on the internet, so it must be true.
Got to be true.
All right. Well, we've reached that point where we've wasted a lot of your time.
Yep.
So
we have.
I do want to say a big thank you to our sponsors. Once again, Watch Communications. Thank you so very much for hosting the podcast and our webpage and for coming on again as a sponsor in 2018. TGM Off-Road, Rob, you've done a ton for us to help us launch our product and give us a lot of really, really good advice. We appreciate that. Thank you for being a sponsor. And UTV-doors.com. They're back with us again for 2018. Yep. And we've got, do we have a new sponsor? Is it official yet?
It's not official yet. We do have another company going to be coming on.
We had one leave us, and we've got one coming on. So yep. Colby Valve, they still make an outstanding product, but they are choosing to focus on a few other things this year. So,
yep.
But they still make an outstanding product that I think is worth looking into if you're a serious UTV, ATV, dirt bike rider.
Yeah. And I'll make our pitch here now at the end. So if you guys would like to become a sponsor of us with both Eminent Waste of Time, the podcast, and our racing season, go ahead and get a hold of us, and we can kind of get you some information on that and, talk to you about it. And we'll mention you on the podcast like we've talked about here. You'd have a spot on our race buggy with the new wrap that'll be going on it at some point. And, you'll get some billing, and it's pretty cheap advertising overall.
Because we only advertise products we believe in, and so if you've got something that we believe is worthwhile, we're going to tell people about it regardless. It doesn't matter where we are. If there's a need, we're going to mention it. That's just how we're wired, and we're only going to basically sponsor products or accept as sponsors products and services that we would use ourselves. So,
yep. So, if you guys have that, we'll maybe talk about it in the next podcast a little bit more up front. But, get a hold of us if you guys are interested in that, or even if you just want some information.
And as always, we've covered a lot of controversial topics, so please leave us your feedback, what you want to see on the next podcast. Tell us we're idiots, tell us we're awesome, whatever it is, we definitely want to hear from you. And in the meantime, thanks for riding along with us.
Thanks, guys.
Tired of going down, tired of myself, tired of this town.